The ship shook again, harder this time. June grabbed the metal bar above his head to keep from falling. Red lights flashed in the engine room, and loud alarms rang in his ears. "What's happening?" June asked through his comm device. He was the lead mechanic on the Dauntless, a human cargo ship that moved goods between Earth colonies. "Unknown ship," the voice of Commander Yuna replied. Her voice was tight with worry. "Very big. They came out of nowhere and hit us with something that killed our main power." June looked around the engine room. All the screens were dark. The backup lights cast everything in a dim red glow. He could still fix this, he thought. He always fixed things. That was his job. "I'm coming up," he said, putting his tools away. "Can't do much down here without power." June was not tall for a Korean man, just 175 centimeters, but he was strong. At 35, his black hair was still thick, with no gray yet. His body was solid and tough from years of fixing ships and from his favorite sport, Syrium, the traditional Korean wrestling. He had been one of the best wrestlers in New Seoul Colony before he joined the space fleet. He made his way through the dark halls of the ship, using his hand on the wall to guide him. Other crew members rushed past, their faces scared. When June reached the bridge, Commander Yuna stood in front of the main screen. On it was the image of the largest spaceship June had ever seen. It was at least 20 times the size of the Dauntless. Its dark metal hull was covered in spikes and weapons. "Valdorians," said Tay, the ship's expert on alien cultures. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "They've been moving into this part of space for years now. They take over planets and make the people there work for them. They're hailing us." "Again," said the communications officer. Commander Yuna nodded. "Put them on screen." The image changed. Now they could see the inside of the alien ship. Standing in the center was a tall, four-eyed being with gray-blue skin and no hair. She, June thought it was a she, wore black armor with sharp points at the shoulders. She stood straight and proud, looking down at the camera with her upper set of eyes. The lower set seemed to be looking at something off-screen. "I am War Commander Rila of the Valdorian Empire," she said. Her voice was deep and rough. "Your ship is now under our control. Do not resist, or we will destroy you." Yuna stepped forward. She was small, even shorter than June, but she stood tall and spoke with authority. "This is Commander Yuna of the Earth Alliance ship Dauntless. We are a peaceful cargo vessel. We have done nothing to harm you." The alien made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Your existence in Valdorian space is enough. Your ship and crew now belong to the Empire. Prepare to be boarded." The screen went black. "Can we run?" June asked. Yuna shook her head. "Engines are dead, weapons too. We're sitting. Ducks. They're attaching to airlock 3, reported the security officer. Yuna turned to the crew. "No one fights. That's an order. We're outnumbered and outgunned. We'll talk to them and find a peaceful way out of this." June didn't like it, but he knew she was right. They had no chance in a fight against this massive warship. 10 minutes later, the bridge doors slid open. 6 tall Valdorians walked in, followed by Commander Rila. In person, she was even more impressive, at least 210 centimeters tall, with muscles that stood out under her armor. Her 4 eyes moved independently, taking in everything at once. "Line up," she ordered, her voice echoing in the bridge. The crew did as they were told. June stood next to Yuna, trying to keep his face calm while his heart raced. Rila walked slowly down the line, looking at each crew member. "Humans," she said with disgust. "Such a weak species, but useful enough as workers." She stopped in front of Tay, who was thin and nervous-looking. "This one is too frail for physical labor, perhaps a data processor." One of her soldiers made a note on a small device. She moved on to Yuna. "This one has the bearing of a leader. She will be trained to manage other slaves." "We are not slaves," Yuna said firmly. "We are citizens of the Earth Alliance. Taking us would be an act of war." Rila leaned down until her face was close to Yuna's. "Your Earth Alliance is weak and far away. Out here we are the only power that matters. When she reached June, she looked him up and down with all four eyes. This one has some muscle. Basic laborer, I think. She poked June's shoulder with a sharp finger. Not impressive by Valdorian standards, but stronger than most humans. Something inside June grew hot with anger. He had spent his life being underestimated because of his average height. People always saw him as just a mechanic, never as the champion wrestler he had been. Rila turned to address all of them. You are now property of the Valdorian Empire. You will be taken to our ship and sorted into work groups. Those who obey will live comfortable enough lives. Those who resist will be punished. And if we don't want to be slaves? June asked. The words came out before he could stop them. Everyone turned to look at him. Yuna gave him a warning glance. Rila stepped closer to him. She was so tall that June had to look up to meet her eyes. You have no choice, human, she said. Your species is weak. You rely on your machines because your bodies are soft and useless. Those words hit June hard, not just because they were aimed at him, but because they insulted all humans. He thought of his father who had worked in the mines until his back gave out. He thought of his mother who had raised 3 children while working 2 jobs. He thought of the human colonists who had built homes on harsh planets where nothing wanted them to live. Humans were not weak. They were survivors. We are not weak, June said, his voice steady. And I am not a slave. Rila laughed, a harsh sound that showed her pointed teeth. Brave words from a soft creature. She turned to her soldiers. Take them to holding cell 1. We'll transfer them to the main ship after we've stripped this vessel of anything useful. As the aliens began to herd the crew toward the door, June made a decision. It was probably stupid, definitely dangerous, but he couldn't let this alien believe that humans would just roll over and accept slavery. I challenge you, he said loudly. Everyone stopped. Rila turned back slowly. What did you say, human? I challenge you, June repeated. Your kind respects strength? Then let me show you human strength. For a moment there was complete silence on the bridge. Then Rila began to laugh and her soldiers joined in. You challenge me? She walked back to stand in front of him. Do you know what happens to slaves who challenge their masters in the Valdorian Empire? I am not a slave, June said again, and I won't be one. If I win, you let our ship go. And when you lose? Rila asked. Her upper eyes narrowed while her lower ones looked amused. Then I'll go with you without a fight, June said, and you can tell everyone how easily you defeated a human. Rila seemed to think about this. Finally, she nodded. I accept your challenge, human. It will be a good lesson for your crewmates. Yuna grabbed June's arm. What are you doing? She whispered. You can't fight her. June looked at his commander and friend. Trust me, he said quietly. I know what I'm doing. He hoped that was true. Rila looked down at June with all 4 of her eyes. Her upper set narrowed while her lower set widened in amusement. Take them all to the cargo bay, she ordered her soldiers. The human wants to challenge me? Let all the crew watch what happens to those who defy the Valdorian Empire. The soldiers herded the crew through the dark hallways of the Dauntless. Yuna walked beside June, her face tight with worry. Have you lost your mind? She whispered. She's twice your size. Size isn't everything, June replied quietly. I've been wrestling since I was 6 years old. My father taught me that technique beats strength. This isn't a wrestling match on New Sol. She's an alien warrior. June nodded. Yes, and that means she doesn't know how humans fight. I've watched her move. She's strong but top-heavy. And those 4 eyes give her good vision, but I bet she's not used to opponents who know how to use that against her. Yuna didn't look convinced, but she stopped arguing. The cargo bay was the largest open space on the ship. The Valdorian soldiers moved crates to the sides to create a clear area in the middle. The crew was made to stand in a circle around this space. More Valdorians came from their ship to watch, about 20 in all. Rila stood in the center of the open area. She removed pieces of her armor until she wore only a tight black outfit that showed her muscular body. She was truly impressive, over 2 meters tall with arms that looked as strong as steel cables. "Come, human," she called to June. "Show me this strength you claim to have." June walked into the circle. He took off his work jacket and boots, standing in his simple gray t-shirt and pants. Next to Ryla, he looked small and ordinary. "Samavai." The Valdorians laughed at the sight. June heard them making comments in their language, probably jokes about his size. "The rules are simple," Ryla announced. "No weapons. We fight until one submits, or can no longer continue. If by some miracle you win, your ship goes free. When you lose, you all become property of the Empire, and you will serve as an example of what happens to rebels." June nodded. "I understand." "Then prepare yourself, human." June took a deep breath and centered himself. He thought back to his training in Cerium, the thousands of hours he had spent learning to use an opponent's weight against them. He thought of all the matches he had won against bigger, stronger opponents. He settled into a slight crouch, knees bent, arms loose at his sides. This was not the traditional Cerium stance. He knew he needed to be adaptable against this unknown opponent. "You don't even take a proper fighting stance?" Ryla mocked. "This will be over quickly, maybe sooner than you think," June replied calmly. Ryla didn't waste any more time with words. She charged at June with surprising speed for someone her size. Her hands reached out to grab him, probably planning to lift him up and throw him down. Hard, but June wasn't there when she reached his position. He had moved to the side at the last second, letting her momentum carry her past him. Surprised, Ryla spun around quickly. Her 4 eyes blinked in different patterns, as if recalculating her approach. "Lucky dodge," she said. "Not luck," June replied. "Just paying attention." This time she approached more cautiously. She circled to his left, then suddenly changed direction and came at him from the right. June watched her feet and hips, seeing the shift in weight that told him what she would do before she did it. When she lunged again, he slipped out of her. "Reach once more." The Valdorian soldiers had stopped laughing now. They watched with more interest as their commander failed to lay hands on the smaller human. Ryla was getting frustrated. "Stand and fight like a warrior," she demanded. "I'm fighting, like a human," June said. "Different, not weak." He knew he couldn't dodge forever. The cargo bay wasn't big enough, and eventually she would corner him. He needed to make his move soon. When Ryla came at him again, June didn't dodge. Instead, he stepped toward her. This surprised her enough that she hesitated for just a fraction of a second. That was all June needed. He grabbed her extended arm, using her own forward momentum to pull her off balance. As she stumbled, he hooked one leg behind hers and pushed against her upper body. It was a basic Assyrium move, one of the first his father had taught him. Ryla, top-heavy and caught by surprise, fell hard to the metal floor. The sound echoed through the silent cargo bay. For a moment, no one moved. The Valdorian soldiers stared in shock. The human crew barely breathed. Then Ryla roared in anger and leapt back to her feet. Her gray-blue skin had darkened with what might have been the Valdorian version of a blush. She was embarrassed and angry now. "A trick," she hissed. "It won't work again." She was right about that. June knew she would be more careful now. He would need to try something different. This time when she came at him, she was balanced and ready. She kept her center of gravity low, making it harder to topple her. Her 4 eyes watched him carefully, tracking his movements. June let her get close, then moved in rather than away. He got inside her longer reach, where her arms couldn't get full power. She tried to grab him, but he slipped under her arms and behind her. Before she could turn, he wrapped his arms around her waist. With all his strength, he lifted her just enough to unbalance her, then pushed forward. They both fell, but June made sure she hit the ground first with him on top of her back. Quickly, he grabbed one of her arms and pulled it up behind her in a hold that put pressure on her shoulder joint. It was a move that could dislocate a human shoulder if done too hard. Ryla struggled, but the position gave her no leverage. The more she fought, the more pressure it put on her joint. "Submit," June said through gritted teeth. Holding her was like trying to control a wild animal. Her alien strength was incredible, and he knew he couldn't keep her down for long. Valdorians do not submit to lesser species, she growled, still fighting against his hold. June increased the pressure on her arm. He didn't want to seriously hurt her, but he needed to end this fight before she broke free and really hurt him. He could feel something different about her shoulder joint. It seemed to bend in a way that a human's wouldn't. He adjusted his hold, finding a spot that seemed more sensitive. Rila let out a strange, high-pitched sound that might have been pain. Her struggling increased for a moment, then suddenly stopped. "Enough!" she shouted. She slapped her free hand against the floor 3 times. The universal signal of submission in combat sports. June immediately released her and rolled away, getting quickly to his feet. He backed up, unsure how she would react to being defeated. The cargo bay was completely silent. Every Valdorian soldier stood frozen in shock. The human crew looked just as surprised. Yuna was the first to speak. "According to your own rules," she said to Rila, "we are now free to go." Rila got slowly to her feet, rubbing her shoulder. She stared at June with all 4 eyes, her expression unreadable. "How long was that fight?" she asked one of her soldiers. The soldier checked a device on his wrist. 32 seconds, Commander." Rila's eyes blinked in sequence. Then she did something completely unexpected. She laughed. Rila's laughter echoed through the cargo bay. It was a deep, rumbling sound that seemed to surprise even her own soldiers. The Valdorians looked at each other in confusion. The human crew stayed completely still, unsure what would happen next. Finally, Rila stopped laughing. She straightened up to her full height and looked at June with new interest in all 4 of her eyes. 30 seconds, she said. 30 seconds is how long it took a human half my size to defeat me. No one has done that in 15 years. June stood his ground, though his heart was beating fast. He had won, but he knew he was still in danger. The Valdorians had weapons, and they outnumbered the humans by a lot. "We had a deal," he said. "We go free." Rila nodded slowly. "Yes, we had a deal. And Valdorians keep their word." She turned to her soldiers. "Return to the ship. Leave these humans alone." The soldiers seemed confused, but they obeyed. As they filed out of the cargo bay, Rila held up a hand to stop one of them. "Restore power to their ship," she ordered. The soldier nodded and left with the others. Now only Rila remained with the human crew. Commander Yuna stepped forward. "Thank you for honoring our agreement," she said formally. "I want to understand something first," Rila said, ignoring Yuna and focusing on June. "How did you beat me? I am stronger than you, I am faster. I have been trained in combat since I could walk. Yet you put me down in 30 seconds. June considered his answer carefully. "Cerium," he said. "It's a style of wrestling from my home country on Earth. It teaches that balance is more important than strength. Position is more important than speed. You knew you couldn't overpower me, so you used my own strength against me," Rila said, nodding. "Clever." "It's not just cleverness," June said. "It's thousands of years of human history. We've always had to find ways to survive against things stronger than us. Animals, nature, each other." Rila walked in a slow circle around June, studying him. "The reports about humans, they are not complete," she said, almost to herself. "They say you are physically weaker than many species, which is true, but they don't mention this adaptability." The lights in the cargo bay suddenly came on. The ship's engines hummed back to life. The soldier had restored power as ordered. "Commander," the voice of Tay came through the ship's speakers. "All systems are coming back online. We have full power." Una nodded but kept her eyes on Rila. "What happens now?" she asked the alien. Rila finally turned to look at Una. "Now you go, as agreed. But I have a request." "What kind of request?" Una asked cautiously. "I want him." Rila pointed at June. "To teach me this key serum." June's eyes widened in surprise. "Teach you? Why?" "Any combat technique that can defeat a Valdorian warrior is worth learning," Rila said simply. "And I must know how to defend against it." Una looked at June. "It's your decision," she said. "We can leave now, all of us." She's given her word. June thought for a moment. Teaching a Valdorian warrior human fighting techniques could be dangerous, but not teaching her could be worse. She might see humans as a threat that needed to be eliminated rather than understood. "I'll teach you," June said finally. "But not as your slave or prisoner. As an equal." Rila's upper eyes narrowed. "You have proven yourself worthy of respect but equality? You are still human." "That's my condition," June said firmly. "I teach you as an equal or not at all." For a long moment Rila stared at him, then she nodded once. "Very well, as equals." She seemed to struggle with the word. "How would this work?" Yuna asked. "We have a schedule to keep, cargo to deliver." "I will travel with you," Rila said. "My ship will follow at a distance. When you reach your destination, I will return to my people." Yuna didn't look happy about this plan. "And we're supposed to just trust that you won't take over our ship again once June has taught you what you want to know." "I have given my word," Rila said stiffly. "That is sacred to Valdorians." June stepped in before tensions could rise further. "Commander, I believe her. And this could be good for all humans, not just us. If the Valdorians learn more about humans, maybe they'll be less likely to try to enslave us in the future." Yuna sighed. "Fine, but you," she pointed at Rila, "will follow our ship rules. No weapons, no threatening my crew. You'll be treated as a guest, but you'll respect our authority on this ship." Rila touched her fist to her chest in what seemed to be a formal gesture. "Agreed." Over the next 3 days, as the Dauntless continued its journey to the colony on Proxima B, June spent several hours each day teaching Rila the basics of Assyrium. They used the cargo bay as their training area, and often had an audience of curious crew members. At first it was awkward. Rila's body was built differently than a human's. Her center of gravity was higher, her limbs longer, and her joints could bend in unusual ways. June had to adapt the traditional moves to work with her alien physiology. "No, not like that," June said, adjusting Rila's stance. "Keep your weight lower. Bend your knees more." Rila tried again, moving as June instructed. She was a fast learner, picking up in days what had taken June years to master. But she was also impatient. "This stance feels wrong," she complained. "In Valdorian combat, we stay high to use our reach advantage." "That's why you lost," June explained. "You were easy to unbalance. In Syrium, we stay low to keep our balance. Think of a tree with deep roots, hard to push over." Slowly, Rila began to understand. By the 3rd day, she could perform the basic throws and holds. She even taught June some Valdorian combat moves in return. "Your people fight well for being so small," she admitted during one practice. "I understand now why some worlds have allied with humans rather than fighting you." "Most humans would prefer allies to enemies," June said. "We're explorers and traders at heart, not conquerors." Rila made a sound that might have been skepticism. "All species seek to expand their territory. It is the way of life. We expand through cooperation more than conquest," June argued. "The Earth Alliance has over 50 member worlds, and most joined voluntarily for mutual benefit." "Interesting," Rila said, considering this. "Valdorians believe strength is the only path to respect. But perhaps there are different kinds of strength." On the 4th day, as they neared Proxima B, Rila received a message from her ship. Her face grew serious as she read it. "What's wrong?" June asked. They had just finished a training session and were taking a break. "My superiors have learned of our arrangement," Rila said. "They are not pleased that I let your ship go. They have ordered me to return immediately and explain my actions." "Will you be in trouble?" June asked, surprised to find he was actually concerned for her. Rila's upper eyes blinked slowly. "Possibly. Failure is not well tolerated in the Empire, but I have learned valuable information about humans. That may balance my failure to capture your ship." She stood up, towering over June once again. But now her height didn't seem so intimidating to him. "I must go," she said. "But before I do, I want to thank you, June of Earth. You have taught me more than just fighting techniques." "What else did I teach you?" June asked, curious. Rila's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. That looking down on someone doesn't always mean you're above them. 6 months had passed since the Dauntless had its encounter with the Valdorian ship. Life had mostly returned to normal for June. He continued his work as the ship's mechanic, fixing engines and keeping systems running smoothly. But something had changed inside him. The experience with Rila had given him a new confidence and purpose. The Dauntless was now docked at New Sol Station, the large spaceport orbiting June's home colony. The ship was being loaded with new cargo for its next journey. June had 3 days of shore leave, and he was spending it at his old wrestling school, teaching young students the art of Sirium. Balance is the key, he told a group of children as they practiced their stances. Even someone smaller can defeat a larger opponent, if they understand balance. The children listened closely. Word had spread about June's victory over the Valdorian warrior. He had become something of a local hero, though he felt uncomfortable with the attention. After class, June was cleaning up the training mats when his comm device beeped. It was Commander Yuna. "June, you need to come back to the ship," she said, without greeting. "We have visitors." "Visitors?" June asked. "Who?" "Valdorians," Yuna replied. "And they're asking for you specifically." June's heart raced. Had Rila been punished for letting them go? Were the Valdorians back for revenge? "I'll be there in 30 minutes, he said, quickly gathering his things. When June arrived at the dock where the Dauntless was berthed, he saw a small Valdorian shuttle parked nearby. It was sleek and silver, much less threatening than the massive warship he remembered. Yuna was waiting for him at the airlock. "They're in the meeting room," she said. 3 of them, including Rila. June felt a mix of relief and worry. "Is she okay? What do they want?" "She seems fine," Yuna said. "As for what they want, they asked to speak to you first." When June entered the meeting room, he immediately spotted Rila. She stood a head taller than the other 2 Valdorians. All 3 wore formal-looking uniforms rather than battle armor. "June," Rila said, her upper eyes focusing on him while her lower eyes scanned the room. "It is good to see you again." "Rila," June nodded. "I didn't expect to see you again. Are you in trouble?" The corners of Rila's mouth turned up slightly. "Quite the opposite." She gestured to the Valdorians beside her. "This is High Commander Vex and Ambassador Tora. They wish to speak with you." The older Valdorian, Vex, stepped forward. He had lighter gray skin than Rila and moved with a slight limp. "June of Earth," he said formally. "Rila has told us much about you and your fighting style." June glanced at Rila, who nodded slightly. "I was very skeptical," Vex continued. "How could a human defeat one of our best warriors?" So Rila demonstrated what she had learned from you. She defeated 3 of our top combat trainers using your Sirium techniques. "I'm glad she learned something useful," June said, unsure where this was going. The 3rd Valdorian, Ambassador Tora, spoke up. She was smaller than the others but held herself with great dignity. "What Rila learned from you has sparked great interest among our military leaders," she said, "and it has forced us to reconsider our assessment of humans." "That's good," June said, looking to Rila for guidance. Rila stepped closer. "The High Council sent me back to find you. They wish to establish a cultural exchange program between Valdorians and humans." June blinked in surprise. "Cultural exchange? I thought you saw us as slaves." High Commander Vex made a dismissive gesture with one hand. "That was before we understood your people better. Rila's reports and demonstrations have shown us that humans have valuable skills and knowledge to share. We have much to learn from each other," Ambassador Tora added. "Your fighting techniques are just the beginning. We are interested in your engineering, your adaptability, your cooperative approach to expansion." June could hardly believe what he was hearing. A few months ago, these aliens had tried to enslave his crew. Now they wanted to be partners. "Why the change of heart?" he asked directly. Rila answered, "Valdorians respect strength above all. But you showed us that strength comes in many forms. Physical power is one kind. Adaptability is another. Your Techniques defeated me not because you were stronger, but because you had found a smarter way to fight. Our empire has grown through conquest for centuries, Vex explained. But we have begun to face resistance from combined forces of other species. Perhaps there are better ways to grow than through war alone. Ambassador Tora nodded. The Earth Alliance has expanded peacefully, gathering allies rather than subjects. This is intriguing to us. June looked at each of them, trying to judge their sincerity. Rila met his gaze steadily, and he remembered her words from their last meeting. Looking down on someone doesn't always mean you're above them. What exactly are you proposing? June asked. We want you to come to Valdoria, Rila said, to teach Cyrium to our warriors, and to learn our combat styles in return. This would be the first step in a larger exchange program. Me? I'm just a ship mechanic, June protested. You are the human who defeated a Valdorian war commander in 30 seconds. Vex corrected him. You have earned the right to represent your people. Commander Yuna, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. This would need approval from the Earth Alliance government. We can't make these decisions on our own. Of course, Ambassador. Tora agreed. We have already sent a formal request to your government, but we wish to speak with June first as he would be central to the initial exchange. June's mind raced. Him, a diplomat between humans and Valdorians? It seemed impossible. Yet here they were, offering peace instead of war, all because of a simple wrestling match. I would need time to think about this, he said carefully. Understandable, Rila said. But consider this, June. Your victory over me may have prevented future conflicts between our species. If you come to Valdoria, you could help build a lasting peace. 3 weeks later, June stood on the observation deck of a large Earth Alliance diplomatic vessel. Beside him stood 5 other humans, 2 diplomats, a cultural expert, a language specialist, and another martial arts master. They watched as the massive blue-green planet of Valdoria grew larger in the view screen. Nervous? Asked one of the diplomats, a woman named Han. Terrified, June admitted. I'm a mechanic, not a diplomat. But you're the reason we're here, Han reminded him. You showed them that humans are worth respecting. Now we build on that foundation. As they prepared to dock at the Valdorian space station, June thought about how much had changed because of one moment of courage. He had stood up when he was called a slave. He had challenged someone stronger than himself. And in 30 seconds, he had changed the relationship between 2 species. The ship docked with a gentle bump. On the other side of the airlock, a Valdorian honor guard waited, led by Rila in formal dress uniform. Ready? Han asked. June took a deep breath and nodded. Ready? The airlock doors opened. Rila stepped forward and, to everyone's surprise, bowed in the traditional Korean style that June had taught her. June returned the bow, then straightened and offered his hand in the human way of greeting. Rila took his hand carefully in her much larger one. Welcome to Valdoria, she said. Teacher. June smiled. I look forward to learning as much as teaching. And with that simple exchange, a new chapter began, not just for June or for Rila, but for humans and Valdorians across the galaxy. A chapter that started when an alien warrior called him a human slave and he crushed her in 30 seconds.